Okay, so somebody asked me, Tristan, how can I create dashboards using NoCode-X? How can I use the built-in charts within NoCode-X to create or to visualize data for example, my organization? And I thought, okay, that's a good question. Let's do a series of videos that does a deep dive into each and every chart that we have within a NoCode-X. So today we're gonna deep dive into the bar chart. So I have here a dashboard, and on the left of the page I have a line chart. On the right I have some metrics about a certain organization. And in the middle, you can't see it yet because there's no data in it. I have a bar chart. So let's start and configure this bar chart according to our needs. So let me just open up NoCode-X for a second right here, like this. And as you can see, let's quickly toggle off the borders. And as you can see here, I have my bar chart. And if I open this bar chart up, I get all the settings of this bar chart right here. So let me zoom in on the bar chart so we can all see it really well. And let's just push the settings a bit to the left so my face is not covering it. So the first thing is a bar chart, just like any other element, UI element that you put on your screen, has a unique code. It's your responsibility to keep this unique, and it should be unique within your template. Not within your application, but within your template. So let's choose as a unique code for this bar chart, the user's bar chart. Like this. And you can have a title for your bar chart. I'll keep it at users because it's fine for my use case. Now, the next thing to do is to pick an x-axis name. So as you can see here, I have chosen days, which appears right here. So that's actually the name of the values in your x-axis. And then I can add the x-axis values, which is actually a semicolon separated string or a semicolon separated piece of text. And in my case, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which actually means day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and day 6. So I have 6 days in my data set. So, and once I have that, I can start adding my data sets. So the first data set I add right here, again, a data set has a unique code. This should be unique within your bar chart. Again, it's your responsibility to keep this data set's code unique. So in this case, we'll choose free users. Now, every data set that you create, you will have a unique code for that data set. It's a long string, but as I did right here, you can change it into something that is more readable, which will make it more easy for you to work with. So I can add a name for my data set, for example, free user, and then I can add another set of values for that data set. And again, this is a semicolon separated text. So let me just add the amount of free users. So let's start with 10. Let's then head over to 40, then 80, then 150. 150, oh, that's a bit too much. And then 250, and last, let's talk about 345. So I have a growing number of free users along my days. And I can add another data set, for example. Now the second data set that I add is paying users. Paying users like this. I'll call it paying users, and then I can add another set of values. So let's just be optimistic right here, and let's say that we have more paying users than we had in the first day, and then we grow a little bit, not that much, and we grow a little bit more, and then we grow some more, and then we grow up until 80 paying users. Wow. So I have 6 days and I have a set of users for my data, my bar chart. So that's a good start. Of course, this is static data. Let's see how that looks in my app, in my page. So as you can see, my bar chart is now filled up with some data. Now, you have quite a lot of possibilities to configure this bar chart. And as you can see, there are colors being automatically chosen for you. If you want to know where these colors come from, open up your design system and you can see in my design system, I have this orange color as accent 1 and I have this green color as accent 2. I have other colors, accent 3, accent 4, and so on. And these are the colors that are being picked for you automatically for every data set that you add. However, you have plenty of styling options to configure yourself. So let's dive a little bit into those. So on the top here, I have my positioning options, which are the same for every UI element that you drag and drop on the screen. But if you head a little bit down, you get specific options for your bar chart. So for example, here, the legend, I can choose to visualize it or to hide it. That's not a problem. I can change the orientation, so then the data sets or the names of the data set appear underneath each other. And I can choose to align it to the left and maybe even to the middle of my screen, or I can do it at the top of the bar chart, but let's just keep it at the middle for now. So the next thing that I can do is I can adjust some things with regards to the axis. I can change this to horizontal bars. So as you can see, it's now changed to horizontal bars, and I can even change the color of the labels of the axes. So for example, let me just change it quickly to white. Let's just choose white. And then I can change the rotation of the labels. So let's rotate them by 30 degrees, for example, right here. So as you can see, the labels here underneath here for the x-axis have been rotated by 30 degrees. And I can move these labels also inside the bars. But let's not do that. Let's not do that. So the next thing that I can add is what we call the grid, which actually adds a margin to your bar chart. So the bigger the margin, the smaller the bar chart will appear. So by default, it's set at 50, but we can put it like at 200 and 250 to have a really, really, really small bar chart, or we put it at 50, and then we adjust maybe a little bit the left margin to make the bar chart, to stop the bar chart from overlapping the legend that we have aligned on the left. So you have plenty of things for you to play around with. You can adjust the settings for each and every corner. That's not a problem. So I'll just have it at 50 for this demo. And then you can tweak some things with regards to animation. So if I load up this bar chart right here, you will see that it is animated, which actually means that the data appears in an animated style, and I can switch this off. So at this point in time, this bar chart is not anymore animated. So as you can see, the left one, the line chart, is animated, the bar chart is not anymore. Or I can just use this animation duration to make it animate, for example, really slow. So this will take 15 seconds for the animation to complete. So let's watch that like this. And as you can see, we have a slow animation going on, or we can speed it up and say, okay, I only want 250 milliseconds for the animation to take. So as we now will see, is that the animation is done really, really quickly. So I'll just leave it at 1000. It's all down. It comes down to personal taste right here. So, and then for each data set that I've added, you can also tweak some stylings for that data set. For example, I can choose another bar color like this. I can choose another, I can choose a bar color border, and I can choose a width of a border and even a radius. So I have rounded corners like this. So let's just check how that looks. So as you can see now, I have a bar with rounded corners. So that's great. I can choose a line type. I can even choose to show a background for a certain bar. So for example, here I have a black background. So let us see how that looks. So as you can see, each of these bars, the free user bar has now a black background. So there's a lot of options for you to play around with. And one thing that I wanted to show you is stack, because stack is a very important or a very handy thing on the bar chart. So sometimes you have a data set, like in my case, I have a data set of free users and I have a data set of paying users. And combined, these data sets resemble the total amount of users in my organization at this point in time. So what could be interesting is if you can stack the bars on top of each other, then you could visualize three things in one space. For example, you visualize the amount of paying users, you visualize the amount of free users, and then you also visualize the amount of the total amount of users in your system. So what you have to do to achieve this is you pick a stack identifier. You can have many stack identifiers in your bar chart. So you can have more than one, but all the data sets that have the same stack identifier will be stacked on top of each other. So I'll choose user as a stack identifier right here, and I'll choose user as a stack identifier right there. And as you can see, the bar chart is already changing and is showing you how the data is visualized. So let's get rid of this border, let's get rid of this radius, and let's get rid of the border of paying users as well. And now, as you can see, I have a bar chart which is stacked. So let's see how that looks on the page that we've built. So as you can see, it looks pretty good. Okay, so that's with regards to dynamic, to static data. Let's try and feed this bar chart some dynamic data. So let's get rid of the static data sets that I've just added, like this. And then let's head over to the onload action of this template, which actually means that if I add an action to this onload trigger, this action will be executed every time this page loads. So for example, if I refresh here, this page will be, the action that I link to this onload trigger will be executed every time. Now, if you have another use case, you can do it by you can trigger or link the action that I'll be building to another trigger. For example, a button trigger, an on-click trigger on a button, which then will just execute your logic and fill up the data of the data table every time a button is clicked, for example. But in this case, I'll do it every time the page is loaded. So a freshly loaded page will have the data in the bar chart. So let's create a new action. Voila. Let's go and edit this action, this newly created action, and let's call this action populate bar chart. Now, first of all, I have to tell you that I've prepared a little bit of a data set. I have a data format which is called user measure, and it has a number in it, amount of users, it has a date, and it has an amount of free users. So I have two metrics, amount of users and amount of free users, and a date which resembles the date when this metric has been captured. And I have some data in my database as well. So I have users 1, user 2, user 3, 4, 5, and 6. So for 6 days of data, I have 6 user measures in my database. So, and I have to tell you, I fetch the data from the database, but you can, of course, fetch your data from an API or from something else. It doesn't matter. You can do so with NoCode-X. But in this case, I'll just fetch my metrics from my database. So I have this action right here, and the first thing that I should do is get the data from the database. So I can use fetch a list of data records to do so. So what this does is it actually does what it says. It gets a list of data records from the database. But the thing that I have to do is I have to select from which data format do I want to select data records. So in this case, I want to select user measures, and I selected the data format. So every list of data records that is being fetched from the database is actually paged, in a sense that if you have, like, for example, thousands of records in your database and you execute fetch a list of data records, we will only get one page and with predefined amount per page. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to get the first page, which is the number 0, and I'm going to go and fetch the second page and the third page and so on. And of course, this is all dynamically possible. The default values are just static values right here, but you can choose from your variable scope which page you want to load. And in this case, I'll just have to load the first page, and then I'll want to load 1,000, for example, because I want to load the entire database of user measures. I can add some filters. I can add some filters with the relationship of or in between each other. I'm not going to deep dive in this video for this function. I'll do that in another video. But the thing that is interesting right here is, and let me just scoot this on to the left, is the sort by. So I'm going to add a sort by for this data format, and I'm going to sort by date, and the order will be ascending. So I want the first captured user measure first, then I want the second, the third, and so on. So that's why I ordered this by date. So let's call this found user measures. Now we want some way to attach this to the bar chart. And if you remember, the bar chart needed data sets that have semicolon separated lists or semicolon separated texts as values. So what this actually does is it fetches a list of data records from the database which are not semicolon separated. So I'll have to transform that data into semicolon separated texts. And that is really easy. So let's just go ahead and do that. First, I'll change the list that I fetched. So the list that I fetched from the database is actually a list of these items. And first, I'll change it to a list of these values, which would actually mean that it's just a list of numbers. That's what I'll first do. And after that, I'll change that list of numbers to a semicolon separate string, which I will then add to the bar chart. So let's do that. Let's map a list of data records to an attribute. So this means I have a list of data records and I map it to a single attribute of that particular data format. So in this case, found user measures. Let me just find the name of the attribute that I want to map it to. Voila. And let's call this amount of users. Voila, like this. And I'll change the name of this map to amount of users, like this. And I'll just drag and drop another map on the screen, map to attribute and map to amount of free users. And then I'll do the same. I'll use the found user measures and I'll fetch the the attribute of amount of free users right here, and I'll just voila, I'll put this in here, and then I'll name it amount of free users like this. So let's just write out in the log one of these so I can see that the data has been correctly transformed into an array of numbers or a list of numbers, so to say. So if I reload this page, I will trigger an execution of the action, and I'll be able to see whatever this action has done in the application log. Another way of doing this is just opening the test a screen and then just executing the test, which will allow me to just execute the action real quickly. And as you can see here, I have some application logs, which has a list of numbers. So now the next thing for me to do is to transform that list of numbers into a semicolon separated piece of text. So let's do that. So I can use the transform a list to separated string function for that. I choose the list that I've created and I choose as a separated semicolon, and then I'll just rename it to exactly the same name, which will then overwrite whatever we had in the scope, in the variable scope. So and then I'll do that again for the amount of free users. So like this, semicolon. So semicolon and amount of free users like that. Okay, amount of free users. So now let's just check and see if that worked by writing another line in the application log. So let's execute this. And as you can see, it is empty at the moment. I'm just going to check if everything is okay. There it is, amount of free users like that. And let's try to execute this again. And now I have a semicolon separated string of values for the amount of free users and for the amount of users. So let's now add this to our bar chart. And if I just search for bar chart in the functions, I'll see that I have about 6 functions that I can use to alter the bar chart that I have on the screen. So first of all, I can clear the data set of a bar chart. So that's clearing a particular data set. I can clear the entire bar chart. So that's throwing away all the data sets, and then you can add some new data sets. So it's most of the time it's not a bad idea to do that. So I'll just add a clear of the bar chart right here, and I'll select the bar chart that I've created with the unique code being users bar chart. I can clear the x-axis of a bar chart if you want to have a dynamic x-axis, and I can add a dynamic x-axis point to the bar chart as well if I wanted. So. And then I can add a single data point to a bar chart. So I'll need an identifier of a data set to do that. So what this actually does is it adds a single point to a particular data set. And I can add a complete data set to a bar chart as well if I wanted to. So let's just go on ahead and do that. So voila. I add a data set to a bar chart. I select my bar chart. The code of my data set is, let's just call this free underscore users. The name of my data set is free users. The color, let's just pick red for the moment. You can add an hexadecimal value for a color in here as well, but I'm just going to add red. And the stack is the same as the stack that I've shown you. So you can stack it up as well. Right here, and I'll choose users, and the points is actually my semicolon separated string or semicolon separated piece of text that I've generated. So this will add the amount of free users to bar chart. We're not 100% done yet. We can add another data set to the bar chart like this. We choose the bar chart. The code here is paying underscore users. The name is paying users. The color is, let's pick green. The stack is users, and the points are again amount of users, that string that I created. So normally now, if I head over to my bar chart, I'll have some data that is perfectly stacked. So as you can see right here, we have a stack of users. Voila. So now that we have our bar chart in place with dynamic data, let us explore other functions that we have at our disposal to actually tweak the bar chart according to our needs. So the first thing I want to set straight is we've already used the following functions. So we've already used clear bar chart and add data set to bar chart. Now in hindsight, clear bar chart was not a good idea for me to use, because if you notice at the bottom of my bar chart, I have no numbers for days. So I lost that, and that is because of the fact that clear bar chart just clears the entire bar chart of its values. So I can just remove this one. These will be connected upon doing so. And if I now reload this page, then I will have numbers once again. So that's that. Now I can explore a little more by, for example, Tristan, there are more than 6 days in a week. So maybe we can add another point to the x-axis. So let's try and do that. Let's find bar chart right here and add an x-axis point to the bar chart. Let's try and do that. So we select this bar chart again, and we add the point 7, being Sunday, of course, or Monday, depending on where you start counting the days of the week. So as you can see right here, we have another point in our bar chart. So there's quite some cool things that you can do with this. Let's do another one. Let's add a data point to a bar chart. So that's a single point in a certain data set. So we say users bar chart. The code of the data set is paying users. And the point that I want to add is 800. Let's be crazy right here. 800 users. So let's load this up. So as you can see, we now have a data point in our bar chart with 800 paying users. So that's great. Let's try something different. Let's clear an entire set of our bar chart, an entire data set. And what this actually does is it actually clears the values of a data set. So let's do that. Let's clear the users bar charts, and let's clear the paying users like this. And then you'll see we'll only have the red bars. So the paying users data set is gone. And this can be done with a data set that you put in statically or one that you put in dynamically. It does not matter. So that's that. Let's also clear the x-axis of a bar chart. We can do that as well. Just select the chart. And if you now look closely, the days will be gone again if I reload it. So as you can see, days have no value anymore. And I only have 250, which actually makes no sense because the data is not correct against the x-axis of the bar chart anymore. So this is an incorrect, but you can build things with this. So now that we have our, now that we removed the values of paying users in our bar chart, As you can see, only the values have been removed, as I said. You can see that the data set is still in my bar chart. So we have one last function to explore, and that's removing the entire data set with this title in the legend as well. So let's open up our action once again. Voila, just like this. Then our action is right here. And then we have to find remove set, remove data set, remove a data set of a bar chart right here. We'll link it up. And again, we fill in the unique code of the data set. I thought it was paying users. So once we have that, you will only have 3 users in our bar chart, and I can now also, of course, remove the clear data set. So it will make no difference. We will have only 3 users. So that's those are all the functions and the functionalities of the bar chart. If you need a functionality for a certain project that you're doing in regards to the bar chart, please reach out. We can build it for you in NoCode-X. So we'll help you and we'll help many other developers just like you. So yeah, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit us up on Discord and keep on building. Bye.